The hero talent system is an ambitious and exciting new feature of the upcoming The War Within expansion that promises to explore new elements of class fantasy through new sub-spec talent trees, each shared by just two of each class's various specializations. This past week, fellow Wowhead writer Preheat and I had a chance to sit down with two incredible members of the World of Warcraft development team, game producer George Velev and lead combat designer Jade Martin, for a 30-minute chat all about hero talents and the newly unveiled Chronowarden hero talent tree. The Chronowarden hero talent tree is one of the three options available to Evoker, and is shared by Augmentation and Preservation, with the other two trees, Scale Commander and Ruby Adept, to be revealed at a later date. Although this is still an early development preview, the Chronowarden already wears its bronze Dragonflate inspired fantasy proudly on its sleeve. I plan to do a follow up video with a full deep dive of this talent tree, but here are a couple of the real standouts. Perhaps the single most iconic node in the Chronowarden talent tree is Warp. The spell reads, Hover now warps you through time and space, and its cooldown is reduced by 5 seconds. Hover continues to allow Evoker spells to be cast while moving. Alongside Warp, we have a choice between Interdimensional Phase, a short 30% damage reduction on Warp, and Motes of Acceleration, a more passive utility option, providing movement speed to allies for 30 seconds. I think Warp does an excellent job at giving you an idea of what this system is all about, and also opens the door for the kind of player driven feedback that the development team is asking for. During the interview, we covered how we think Warp really matches the Bronze Dragonflight flavor of the Chronowarden fantasy, and explored potential detailed interactions, like how the spell might behave when falling, or if it might break you out of roots, like Mage Blink. We also discussed the power level of Interdimensional Phase, and how, generally speaking, the goal with most of these talents is not to significantly alter existing gameplay, but to generally act as a noticeable benefit to your existing playstyle, perhaps with a small twist. Another example of a twist on an existing ability is Temporal Burst, an updated version of Tip the Scales, adding ramping haste, movement speed, and cooldown reduction over 20 seconds. Ignoring the numbers for a moment, this is just a great way to give Tip the Scales an otherwise fairly mundane 2-minute cooldown a fresh coat of paint that really reinforces the Chronowarden time-space fantasy. I'm personally quite excited by this new system as a whole, and by what I've seen so far, I'm thrilled that the development team is putting these previews out this early in order to gather as much feedback as possible. First off, the development team is committed to eliminating friction wherever possible with this new system. So, unlike the Shadowlands Covenants at launch, you'll have the freedom to change between two hero talent trees, as well as change between talent choices within those trees at any time. The team's also exercising caution and discipline when it comes to setting themselves up for success around balance tuning by essentially putting together a bit of a rule book for how these things will be designed. So hero talent trees currently have a target power budget of about 25% damage or healing throughput on top of the baseline specs. And you can expect to see a similar distribution of damage, utility, and survivability nodes between any of the spec's two choices. At one point, Jade offered a general example where perhaps one talent tree is mostly execute damage oriented, while the other has more of a sustained damage profile, and are balanced in such a way that both offer a similar overall level of power as a total package. Now, ultimately, while the system might still see players making difficult decisions with respect to their favorite combination of spec fantasy, spell effects, and gameplay implications, the development team seems as committed as ever to ensuring that players have as much freedom as possible to explore the system to the fullest, without any particular choice feeling overwhelmingly required. It's an ambitious goal, but I'm excited to see it play out. So, like I said, I'm planning on doing a full deep dive into the Chrono Warden talent tree at some point to give my thoughts on each of the 11 nodes, including some clarifications around interactions that we covered during the interview. So, stay tuned for that. Be sure to check out the video description for a link to a transcript of the full interview on my website, as well as a link to the official blog post revealing this wave of hero talents, where you can leave your comments and feedback. Huge shout out once again to Jade and George for the opportunity to sit down and chat. It was a lot of fun, and I had a great time. I'm going to leave you guys with a short clip from the end of our interview covering how to provide the best feedback possible and what we can look forward to in the coming months. So until next time, have a good one.
I think we've said it a couple times throughout the interview. Like one of the the reasons why we're doing this so early is we're really interested in player feedback, right? So our hope here is that, once these go live, we'll get a lot of feedback, and we consume this on a lot of different mediums, right? Like our forums, Discord, um, Reddit, anywhere that YouTube videos. George loves TikTok. I've said that now a couple times. So even if you give us a TikTok video, we'll look at it.
So keep
Generally
bring.
written feed, yeah, generally written feedback is best for us. It's just easier to parse through. But again, like anywhere we can get this feedback is great. So please, please, please send us that feedback. We want to hear what you think about hero talents. Things we're specifically looking for are, how do you feel about the fantasies of the trees? Do the talents embody that fantasy? What are your thoughts on how the talents play, or they impact your rotation? I know that can be hard when you're just looking at a paper design, but even early thoughts on that is great. And we're really pushing to get the majority of these in to be play testable for our very first public testing in the future. And lastly, feedback. Even how once we get to that stage, like what the visual looks like, how the names are, is that coming across in the fantasy of these hero talents? So please,
Okay.
please. I said please a lot already, but can't wait to hear feedback on this.
Thanks,
All right.
Jade.
Look.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Jade basically sold everything I was going to say. Thanks, Jade. Two
Sweet.
things I wanted to add. This is just the beginning. This is our first wave. We're going to be doing more of these on the sort of road to public testing. So look forward to them. They're going to be a lot of fun. And honestly, if you're around for Dragonflight Alpha, where we did sort of our talent previews, similar sort of vibe to that. And yeah, if you make a TikTok for Chronowarden, I'm going to send it to like everyone I know, because that's apparently what is my preferred method of feedback, Jade. But forums are great too. So yeah, I really appreciate the time.